Okay, class, picking up where we left off at. We are complementary and supplementary angles. Complementary angles are two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. To find the complement of an angle, subtract it from 90 degrees. Okay, now, it says here, we have this angle. It says the measure of angle DBC is 37 degrees, and the measure of angle DBC is 37 degrees here. Now it says angle ABD and DBC are complementary angles. Any two angles that combine to make a right angle are complementary. So we have x plus 37 equals 90. X is equal to 53. Now if you notice, if we combine both of these angles here, the x and the 37, we know that would give us a 90-degree angle, which is shown here. This little square always means that the angle measures 90 degrees. So these two added together must equal 90, which we have here. X plus 37 is 90. And what is not shown here is that we were supposed to subtract 37 on both sides. So x is equal to 53 degrees, and it should have a degree sign here. Okay, so now, this is the complement. The supplement. Now remember, we know that a straight angle is 180 degrees. So now we know that for the straight angle, that will give us this angle here and this angle here. X degrees and 82 degrees. When you add these two angles together, they will form 180. So we have x plus, well, it'd be x degrees plus 82 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Now, we could subtract 82 on both sides, which would give us 98. So our final answer here would be 98 degrees. And just to show it off to the side, we'll subtract 82 on both sides. And that would give us x is equal to 98 degrees. And that is the final answer. And it says angle ABD and angle DBC are supplementary angles. Any two angles that combine to make a straight angle are supplementary. Okay, now we go here to vertical angles. When two lines intersect, the opposite angles formed are called vertical angles. Vertical angles are equal. When two lines intersect, they form two pairs of vertical angles. These are vertical angles. Vertical angles always have equal measures. Now, vertical angles have the same measure. When angles have the same measure, we call the angles congruent angles. The symbol for congruent is, if you notice here is an equal sign with a little line over it, a little squiggly line on top of it. But that stands for congruence. Now we have an example. Angle ABD and angle DBC are supplementary angles. The measure of angle ABD is 14 degrees less than the measure of angle DBC. Find the measure of the two angles. Now we're told that these two angles are supplementary angles. So we know that angle ABD plus, well, we should put the measure of angle ABD plus the measure of angle DBC. It's supposed to equal 180 degrees because they're supplementary. So the measure of angle ABD is x minus 14 degrees. And the measure of angle DBC is x degrees. And that's supposed to still equal 180 degrees. Now we could drop this parenthesis here, and then we can combine like terms. X plus x is 2x minus 14 is equal to 180 degrees. So we can add 14 to both sides. We add 2x is equal to 194. We divide these sides by 2. We have x is equal to, this will give us, what's that, 97. This will be 97 degrees. So now, we know that angle, or we can write the answer here, the measure of angle DBC is 97 degrees. But now we know the measure of angle ABD is equal to 97 minus 14, which give us 83 degrees. And when you add these two up, it gives us 180. So this is the final answer to this problem. Now, we scroll here, example, angle measures and complements. It says find the measure of angle DBC. DBC. Now, if you notice here, if we do this here, and we see this here, this is a 90-degree angle. But if we encompass everything, we also know this is a 90-degree angle. So we know these two angles added together must equal 90. But we see here, this is 62, right? So what we would have to do is this here. This would be, we can make this x here. So we'll say x plus 62 is equal to 90 degrees. We'll subtract 62 degrees on both sides. And x is equal to 38 degrees. So our final answer, the measure of angle DBC is equal to 38 degrees. And that is our final answer. Now, we scroll down here. It says example, angle measures and supplements. The measure of angle ABD is 66 degrees greater than the measure of DBC, and they are supplementary angles. So here we have ABD is 66 degrees greater than DBC. So DBC would be our x, and then ABD would be x plus 66, and we know these are degrees. Okay, so now we want to find the measure of each angle. These are supplementary angles. So we know that these equal to 180. So we could go off to the side here and say x plus 66 equals 180. Now x plus x we know is 2x plus 66 equals 180. Now we will subtract 66 on both sides. So we will have 2x is equal to 180 minus 66 will give us 114. Divide each side by 2, and x is equal to 57 degrees. So we know the measure of angle DBC is 57 degrees. Now the measure of angle ABD is equal to 57 plus 66. 57 plus 66 is 123. And this is our final answer. We add them together, that would give us 180. Now we come down here, example, using vertical angles. It says the angle of the left measures 68 degrees. Find the other angles. So the angle of the left here will be 68 degrees. Remember, vertical angles are congruent. So this 68 and angle 1 both should be 68 degrees. Now if you notice here, let's just look at this line, straight line. Isn't a straight line equal to 180 degrees? So that means that this 68 degrees plus this plus angle 2 should give us 180. So we could just do 180 minus 68 to give us angle 2. So angle 2 is equal to 180 minus 68. 180 minus 68 we know will give us 112. So angle 2 would be 112 degrees. And remember, vertical angles are congruent. So this also will be 112 degrees. So our final answer here, they want all of the angle measures. Angle 1 is 68 degrees. Angle 2 is 112 degrees. And also angle 3 is 112 degrees. And we're done. Okay, so now we come down here. It says find the measure of the marked angles. Now if you notice here, we're still going to do vertical angles are congruent. So these two angles are congruent. So, or they are equal to each other. So we could do 5x plus 7 is equal to 8x minus 62. Now we can solve this. We can subtract 5x on both sides. And 7 is equal to 3x minus 62. Add 62 on both sides. We will add got 69 is equal to 3x. We divide each side by 3. And this will give us 23 is equal to x. So now x is 23. So we would substitute in 23 for x. So we could just do one of these because we know the other one would be the same. So we could do 5 times 23 plus 7. 5 times 23 will give us 115 plus 7 to give us 122. So that means that this angle here is 122 degrees, and this angle here is 122 degrees. Now remember, with our straight angle, when we add the two angles together, that's supposed to give us 180. So 180 minus 122 will give us 58 degrees. So it'd be 58 degrees here, 58 degrees here, and we're done. Now it says here basically the same thing. Find the measure of the marked angles. But you notice these are not vertical lines. These two angles here form a straight angle. So we know that both of these added together must equal 180. So we add 3x plus 3 plus 10x minus 18. Now we can put these in parentheses, but since they're added, we don't need to put the parentheses. Equals 180. 3x and 10x is 13x. 3 minus 18 is negative 15 equals 180. We will add 15 on both sides. We add 13x is equal to 165. We divide each side by 13. And x is equal to, now we know 13 goes into 16 once. Okay, I made a slight error here. I subtracted and I was supposed to add. So this should have been 195 over 13. So 13 goes into 19 once, and then we add 65 left over. So that'll give us 15. So x will be 15. So we need to substitute in 15 for both of these values. So we add 3 times 15 plus 3. So that'd be 45 plus 3, which is 48. So we know this is 48 degrees. Now we can subtract this from 180, and that will give us 132 degrees. But you can substitute this in here. 10 times 15 is 150 minus 18 is 132. And they only want us to do the marked angles, so we can stop here. But you know, as practice, vertical angles are congruent, so we know this will be 48 degrees. And this side here will be 132 degrees, just for a little practice. Now we go here, special line relationships. Parallel lines, lines that lie in the same plane and have no point in common. Parallel lines are lines that lie in the same plane and have no points in common. We can intersect two parallel lines with a third line called a transversal and form 8 different angles that are all related. The intersecting lines, two lines that are not parallel and have a single point in common. Transversal, a line that intersects two parallel lines. This is a transversal between the parallel lines. It says parallel lines and transversal. Now, this symbol here represents parallel lines. So it's saying line L is parallel to line M. Now, all of the even number angles will have equal measures. Because remember, vertical lines are congruent, or vertical angles are congruent here. So all of the even have equal measures. All of the odd number angles will have equal measures. Okay, angles 1 and 5 are corresponding angles. These are corresponding angles, and corresponding angles are congruent. Angles 3 and 5 are alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles are also congruent. Angles 4 and 6 are alternate interior angles. Angles 1 and 7 are alternate exterior angles. Angles 2 and 8 are alternate exterior angles. So alternate interior and alternate exterior angles are congruent. Now you can read this table at your leisure. It goes through how these values are congruent to each other. Now parallel lines and angle pairs. The parallel lines are intersected by a transversal. then the alternate interior angles have the same